Imagine this kind of day. You are walking down a street on a hot summer afternoon, and suddenly, without warning, without explanation, a bucket of cold water is poured over you. Or someone shoots you with a water gun, or soaks you with a garden hose, and everyone around is laughing. The person who soaked you, and you yourself, drenched to the bone. Nobody is angry, nobody is offended, because today is Vardavar. Vardavar is the Armenian water festival, one of the most ancient, most joyful, and most unusual celebrations, not only in Armenia, but in the entire world. Every year, 98 days after Armenian Easter, which usually falls in July or August, all of Armenia takes to the streets with buckets, water guns, garden hoses, and simple jugs of water to soak each other for an entire day without stopping. The word Vardavar comes from the ancient Armenian language. Vard means rose, and Var means fire or blossoming. Vardavar is the festival of blossoming roses, the festival of water and joy, the festival of summer in its fullest and most complete sense. When the sun stands high in the sky, when the summer heat makes cool water feel like pure bliss, when laughter echoes through every street of the city. On this day, social boundaries simply cease to exist. A small child can soak a grown adult. A grandchild can pour a bucket over their grandparent. A passerby can unexpectedly drench another passerby. Even police officers become targets and enthusiastically join in the fun themselves. This is one of those rare days in the year when an entire people, from the very young to the very old, becomes one big joyful family. But Vardavar is not simply about throwing water. Behind this joyful celebration lies a history several thousand years long, a history of pagan gods and Christian saints, of ancient rites and living traditions, a history of a people who know how to celebrate life no matter what. Today, we will tell you everything about this extraordinary Armenian festival. To truly understand Vardavar, you need to go back, very far back. Thousands of years before Armenia became the first Christian country in the world, to a time when the Armenian people worshipped their own gods and goddesses, when sacred fires burned on mountain summits and mysterious rituals were performed at mountain springs. In Armenian pagan mythology, there was a particular goddess, Ashtik. Her name means little star. Ashtik was the goddess of love, beauty, and water, very similar to the Greek Aphrodite or the Roman Venus. Beautiful, gentle, the patron of lovers and of all living things, she held a special place in the hearts of ancient Armenians. According to ancient legend, Ashtik scattered rose petals across all of Armenia every summer, pink, red, white, as a gift to the earth and to the people. But she did this secretly, in the night hours, under cover of darkness. One day, someone lit a torch in the night and accidentally caught the goddess in the act of her secret work. Ashtik was embarrassed and hid herself in the waters of a mountain spring. From that time forward, according to tradition, people pour water on each other in memory of this event, to wash away sins, to be cleansed and renewed. The festival dedicated to Ashtik existed in Armenia long before the adoption of Christianity. It was a midsummer celebration, a festival of water and love, a festival of fertility and natural abundance. People marked it at rivers and springs, at sacred lakes and mountain waterfalls. Women threw flower garlands into the water, men held competitions, and everyone together sang and danced until dawn. The connection between Vardavar and the ancient cult of Ashtik can be traced even today. The rose is the symbol of this festival. Water is its principal element. And that special atmosphere of love and joy that fills the air on Vardavar Day, this is the echo of an ancient goddess who still invisibly inhabits this celebration thousands of years later. In the year 301 AD, Armenia adopted Christianity, the first country in all the world to do so. This was a revolutionary step that changed everything: religion, culture, architecture, and way of life. Pagan temples were closed, idols were destroyed. The old gods were consigned to the past. But folk festivals are a remarkably resilient thing. They cannot be abolished by decree. They cannot be forbidden. People will continue to celebrate what their fathers and grandfathers celebrated before them, simply giving it a new name and a new meaning. This is precisely what happened with Vardavar.
The Armenian Apostolic Church acted wisely. Instead of fighting against a beloved folk celebration, it incorporated the festival into the Christian calendar, filling it with new spiritual content. Vardavar was connected to the feast of the Transfiguration of Christ, that gospel event when Jesus Christ was transfigured on Mount Tabor before his disciples, revealing to them his divine nature. Water in the Christian tradition is the symbol of cleansing and rebirth. It is the baptismal water that washes away sins. It is the water with which Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. It is the living water about which he spoke with the Samaritan woman at the well. By incorporating Vardavar into a Christian context, the Church gave the water of the festival a new and profound meaning.
This is why on Vardavar Day, Armenian churches hold special morning services. Priests bless water. The faithful attend the liturgy before going out into the streets of the festival. At the greatest Armenian cathedral, Echmiadzin, the first Christian cathedral in the world, thousands of pilgrims gather on this day. Vardavar is a rare and beautiful phenomenon, a celebration in which pagan antiquity and Christian faith have been harmoniously united. The goddess Ashtik and the Transfiguration of the Lord, the pagan rite of purification by water and the Christian sacrament of baptism, 1,000-year-old history and living contemporary tradition. All of this is Vardavar.
Several days before Vardavar, a particular kind of excitement begins to stir in Armenia. It is a very concrete and very practical excitement. Toy shops and hardware stores fill with customers choosing water guns. Large and small, powerful and modest, single-shot and pump action, an incredible quantity of all this water warfare equipment is sold in the run-up to Vardavar. Children, who are the chief strategists and tacticians of Vardavar, prepare with particular thoroughness. They discuss their plans among themselves, where to take up positions, where to set an ambush, who to soak first. They fill water balloons in advance and hide them in concealed locations. They negotiate coalitions and alliances with neighborhood children. All of this happens with deadly seriousness, behind which barely suppressed excitement is poorly concealed.
Adults prepare in their own way. Housewives begin cooking traditional Armenian dishes because Vardavar is also a family festival, a day of great feasting. Dolma, khorovats, lavash, summer vegetables, homemade cheese. The table on Vardavar Day must be generous and varied. Armenians are firmly convinced that any proper celebration must be accompanied by good food and good company. Men engage in more strategic preparations, connecting garden hoses, positioning buckets of water on balconies, checking the water pressure in the pipes. Those with access to a rooftop secure it as the ideal position for soaking people passing below.
On the evening before Vardavar, Armenian homes have a particular atmosphere. Children cannot sleep from excitement. Parents smile, remembering their own childhood Vardavars. Grandmothers and grandfathers tell stories of how the festival was celebrated in their youth. And over all this family warmth hovers anticipation. Tomorrow will be one of the best days of the entire year.
Vardavar Day begins early. Very early. Children wake before dawn from the excitement overflowing within them and quietly run to the window to check whether it has already started. The sun slowly rises over the Armenian mountains, coloring the sky pink and gold. Ararat on the horizon gleams with its snow-covered summit in the first rays of light. The first thing that happens on Vardavar morning is the church service. Armenians go to church for a special liturgy celebrating the Transfiguration of the Lord. This is an important part of the festival, its spiritual beginning. Priests in ceremonial vestments bless water. The faithful pray and receive blessing. And then they step outside, where something completely different is already waiting for them.
One of the most beautiful Vardavar traditions is the release of doves. In the morning, at the walls of churches and simply on the streets, people release white doves into the sky. The birds fly up in flocks, circle above the city, and their white silhouettes against the blue summer sky create an extraordinary picture. The dove in Armenian tradition is the symbol of peace, purity, and Noah's Ark, which came to rest on Mount Ararat. On Vardavar Day, the sky above Armenia literally fills with white birds. Another morning tradition is washing with dew. Those who have a garden go out early in the morning and wash their faces with the morning dew from flowers and grasses. It is believed that on Vardavar Day, the dew has special healing power. It makes the skin beautiful, drives away illness, and brings good fortune. This is a very ancient custom coming from pagan times. And then everything begins. The first water gun fires somewhere in a quiet courtyard. The first bucket of water flies from a balcony to the street below. The first laughter cuts through the summer morning. And a wave of celebration, growing in strength, sweeps through one courtyard, then a street, then a neighborhood, then the entire city. Vardavar has begun. At the height of Vardavar, Armenian cities are transformed into something completely unimaginable. Picture this, thousands of people in the streets, everyone soaked to the bone, everyone laughing, water flying from every direction. Water guns fire in continuous bursts, buckets are tipped from balconies, garden hoses in the hands of laughing people describe wide arcs of water. Water balloons explode at the feet of passing pedestrians. Republic Square in Yerevan, the main square of the country, with its fountains and pink tough stone buildings, becomes the epicenter of water madness on Vardavar Day. Thousands of people gather here to take part in a spectacular water battle. The fountains overflow with people. Adults and children jump directly into the fountain water, spray everyone around them, scream and laugh. One of the fundamental rules of Vardavar is that nobody is safe. Absolutely nobody. A passing pedestrian is a target. A driver with an open window is a target. A respected elderly professor is a target. A police officer is a target. Nobody can walk through the streets dry on Vardavar Day. And the most extraordinary thing is that nobody wants to remain dry. To get drenched to the skin in the summer heat amid universal laughter, this is the very essence of the festival. Foreign tourists who find themselves in Armenia for the first time during Vardavar experience a genuine cultural shock. They did not expect anything like this. They are walking along, admiring the architecture, and suddenly, splash, a bucket of water from above. A moment of confusion, then laughter, and now the tourist is already reaching for the nearest tap to respond in kind. Vardavar turns strangers into friends faster than any other festival on earth. By midday in the July heat, everyone is soaked and happy. Clothes cling to bodies, hair drips, shoes squelch at every step. And nobody, hear this, nobody is angry. Because today is Vardavar, because water is joy, because laughing together is the best thing you can possibly do on a summer day.
If Vardavar is a festival for everyone, then for children it is something entirely and utterly special, something that exists on no other day of the year. It is a day when children become kings, when the adult world turns upside down for one day and a child can soak the strictest grandfather with water, and this is not only permitted, but warmly encouraged. Several days before Vardavar, Armenian children begin their strategic planning. They study the terrain. Where are the best ambush positions? From where is it most convenient to pour water on passers-by? Where water can be quickly obtained for reloading? They form groups, agree on coordinated actions, and establish rules of engagement. All of this happens with an extraordinary seriousness that contrasts sharply with the exuberant joy of the festival itself.
On Vardavar Day, the Armenian child wakes before everyone else. The water gun has been loaded since the previous evening. Reserve water containers have been positioned around the yard. The first victim, usually one of the parents, is discovered still in their pajamas in the kitchen. A shout, laughter, the indignant yet secretly delighted faces of the adults. The celebration has begun. Armenian fountains on Vardavar Day always attract particularly large gatherings of children. They jump directly into the fountain water, stage splashing wars, climb out, and jump in again. Mothers and fathers who came to cool down a little on a hot day often find themselves drawn into water battles quite against their will, and discover that this is actually entirely in accordance with their will.
By evening, an Armenian child after Vardavar looks a certain way. Completely soaked, a little tired, with shining eyes and a deeply satisfied smile. The water gun has been reloaded 20 times. All supplies of water balloons have been exhausted. Several adults have been soaked from head to foot. The festival was a success. Time to sleep. Until the next Vardavar, exactly 1 year away.
Over thousands of years of its existence, Vardavar has acquired a whole set of traditions and customs that make this festival a unique phenomenon of Armenian culture. Some of these traditions are very ancient. They came from pagan times. Others appeared in the Christian era. Others developed quite recently. But all of them together form the unrepeatable image of Vardavar. The release of doves is one of the most beautiful traditions of the festival. White birds fly up into the summer sky, circling above cities and villages before returning to their home lofts. The dove is the symbol of peace and the Holy Spirit in Christian tradition. The dove that Noah released after the flood, which returned with an olive branch announcing the end of catastrophe. On Vardavar Day, the sky above Armenia turns white with flocks of doves.
The rose occupies a special place in the symbolism of Vardavar. This is a direct connection to the goddess Ashtik, who scattered roses across all of Armenian soil. On the day of the festival, roses are sold on every corner. Girls weave them into their hair. Children throw petals into fountains. Homes are decorated with bouquets. The fragrance of roses mingles with the smell of water and summer heat, and this is the scent of Vardavar. Washing with morning dew on Vardavar Day is considered a special ritual of beauty and health. According to folk belief, water on Vardavar Day generally possesses miraculous properties. Those who wash their faces at a spring or river on this day will be healthy all year. Those who manage to catch the first Vardavar rain will receive special good fortune. An equally important tradition is the festival table. Vardavar is celebrated at the height of summer abundance, when Armenian gardens and orchards give their generous harvest. Tomatoes and cucumbers, peaches and apricots, grapes and figs, all of this appears on the festival table, alongside traditional Armenian dishes. The family gathers together, wine flows, toasts are raised, and over all this feasting, laughter can be heard, still echoing the water battles of the day.
Vardavar is celebrated across all of Armenia, in large cities and small villages, in mountain settlements, and on lake shores, and everywhere it is a little its own, a little special. In Yerevan, Vardavar is a spectacular urban event. Republic Square, the cascade of fountains in the city center, the main boulevards, all of this becomes the arena for large-scale water battles. Hundreds of thousands of people take to the streets. The city fountains overflow, water pours from balconies. This is a celebration with a capital letter, a capital city celebration for everyone. In Gyumri, the second largest city in Armenia, Vardavar has a particular character. Gyumri is famous throughout Armenia for its wit and humor. Local residents devise ingenious methods of soaking people and stage entire performances, turning water attacks into theatrical scenes. Vardavar in Gyumri is not simply a water war, it is also a competition in cleverness. In Vanadzor, our beautiful mountain city, Vardavar takes place against the backdrop of the magnificent Caucasus ridges. The mountain air, cool even in summer heat, fills with water spray. The mountain rivers near the city become centers of attraction for festive swimming.
In the small Armenian villages, Vardavar is at its most authentic. Everything here happens simply and genuinely. Neighbors soak neighbors, children run through village lanes, and afterwards everyone gathers at a shared table, because in a village everyone knows each other, and everyone is genuinely glad to see each other. But Vardavar is not only Armenia, it is the entire Armenian world. Armenian communities are scattered across the entire planet, and on Vardavar Day, each of them marks this festival in its own way. In Los Angeles, where the largest Armenian diaspora in the United States lives, approximately 200,000 people, Vardavar is celebrated in the Armenian Quarter on a large scale. Californian Armenians take to the streets with buckets and water guns, explaining to their astonished neighbors of other nationalities that something completely wonderful is happening.
In Paris, the Armenian community, one of the oldest in Europe, gathers for Vardavar in the Armenian neighborhoods of the city. In Beirut, where Armenians have lived for centuries and created an entire city within a city, the Burj Hamoud district, Vardavar is celebrated with particular ceremony. In Moscow, where an enormous Armenian diaspora resides, the festival is marked in Armenian cultural centers and simply in residential courtyards. And everywhere, in Los Angeles and Paris, in Moscow and Sydney, in Beirut and Tbilisi, Armenians do the same thing. They take water and pour it on each other. They laugh. They remember Armenia. They explain to their children born already in another country what Vardavar is and why it matters. Because Vardavar is not simply a water festival, it is the thread that connects Armenians around the entire world to their homeland, to their history, and to their people. Wherever an Armenian may live, on Vardavar Day, they are Armenian fully and completely.
Vardavar ends as gradually as it began. First, the water guns fall silent. The ammunition is exhausted. Then the buckets on the balconies are empty. Then tired, soaked, and absolutely happy people begin making their way home. Children fall asleep in their clothes, wet but quickly dried by the summer heat. Adults gather around the festival table. By evening, the streets of Armenian cities look a certain way. Puddles where puddles never appear in the summer heat, rose petals in the fountains, a forgotten water gun somewhere, wet footprints on the pavement already almost dried. These are the traces of Vardavar, which fade with the setting sun.
What is Vardavar for the Armenian people? This is a question that can be answered in different ways. A historian will tell you that it is one of the most ancient festivals in the world that has survived in living form over thousands of years. A priest will tell you that it is the feast of the Transfiguration of the Lord, of spiritual renewal through water. An ethnographer will tell you that it is a unique example of how a pagan tradition was organically incorporated into a Christian culture. But if you ask an ordinary Armenian, a child or an adult, a Yerevan resident or an Armenian from Los Angeles, they will tell you something simpler. Vardavar is the most fun day of the year. It is the day when everyone is equal. It is the day when you can soak absolutely anyone and receive nothing in return but laughter. It is the day when the entire Armenian people, different, living in different countries, speaking different languages, becomes a single united whole.
Vardavar has survived the change of religions and the change of states. It survived conquerors and empires. It survived genocide and Soviet power. It survived the scattering of Armenians across the entire world. And every year, 98 days after Easter, it is born again, like water which takes the shape of any vessel but remains water, like the Armenian people which took different forms throughout history but always remained itself.
Vardavar will exist for thousands of years more, because joy is the most resilient thing in the world, because laughter cannot be forbidden, because water always flows through any obstacle, finding its way. And as long as there are Armenians, there will be Vardavar, the festival of water, roses, and laughter, the festival of life, the festival of Armenia.